In this video, we'll talk about the athletes who have dominated sports arenas in 2021 and proven to be the #1 in their fields. Here are the best athletes in the most popular sports in the world right now. Basketball. Kevin Durant. As Bill Russell had eloquently put it in the Uncle Drew commercial, this game has always been, and always will be, about buckets. And if you need a bucket in the NBA, there's no better person to make one than Kevin Durant. In 2019, just as he was about to take over from LeBron James, win his 3rd straight title, and sit on the proverbial throne as the best player in basketball, KD tore his Achilles. But even after he was robbed of 533 days of his prime from the worst injury in basketball, KD returned like nothing ever happened. He's still the 7-foot shooting guard who makes basketball look easy, and with the game on the line, there's no one I would trust more to score a basket. In 2021, KD averaged a career-high in shooting efficiency, along with 27 points, 7 rebounds, and 5.6 assists per game. In the playoffs, he was even better. Easy Money Sniper averaged 34, 9, and 5 without a drop in efficiency and gave us several masterpiece games, even without the help of injured Kyrie and Harden. Durant defeated the stacked and healthy Bucks team by himself in Game 5 with a monstrous 49-point triple-double. And then he almost did the same in Game 7, where his 48-point game proved to be a half an inch away from victory. American football. Patrick Mahomes. Mahomes got a $500 million contract after just 2 full seasons in the NFL, during which he won the MVP, Super Bowl MVP, and proved himself as the most dominant player in football. Mahomes is a complete package. He's everything you'd want in a quarterback and a franchise player. Pat is big, strong, and deceptively fast. He knows how to maneuver the pocket like a veteran with 10 years of experience by using small steps to manipulate space, and at the same time, scanning the field for open teammates and potential deep bombs. And the bombs are falling. Mahomes has dynamite in his hands, and what's most impressive is how effortless it seems for him to throw the ball 60 yards down the field with a slight flick of the arm. He's almost impossible to sack because of his IQ, and because he can throw with precision off the back foot, which was best proved in the last Super Bowl. Even though his linemen looked like high school kids playing against grown men, Mahomes kept finding impossible solutions, running backward, forwards, or sideways. And some of his passes looked unreal, as if they were tailored in CGI for a Hollywood movie. I don't know if anybody deserves a $500 million contract, but if I had to give that kind of money to one NFL player, I'd give it to Patrick Mahomes. He's just that good. Football. Leo Messi. Stretches of dominance in sports last relatively short, especially in team sports. Father Time is undefeated. Injuries occur, players start to rest on their laurels, the competition improves, and coaches invent new tactics to slow down the best. That's why Lionel Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo are the 8th world wonders, not just because of their magnificent peak, but because they've been on top for so long, similarly to Michael Jordan and LeBron James in the NBA. Messi entered the scene as an explosive wing player, but if you watch him play now, it's not uncommon to see him start the attack in his half, enter the ball into the penalty area, and score the ball all within the same possession. That's why Messi's genius is hard to reduce to numbers of assists and goals, key passes and dribbles. Messi is the best player in the world, not because he has collected 52 combined goals and assists in 47 games this year, but because he's a historical anomaly. At the same time, he's the best dribbler, the best creator, the best goal scorer, and the best free kick taker in the world. From 2010 until today, Messi has averaged an insane 1.42 goals and assists per game. For illustration, Cristiano Ronaldo has reached 1.42 in just one season of his entire career. That's why Messi is the most dangerous weapon in the history of football, and still the best player in the game today. MMA. Kamaru Usman. It took a while for Kamaru Usman to reach the top. Once upon a time, he was just a dominant wrestler with no stand-up game, and his only tactic was to bring his opponents down and suffocate them with pressure. Under the tutelage of a famed coach Trevor Whitman, Kamaru Usman has perfected his jab and is now using it in a more comprehensive plan that involves a lot of movement and analyzing his opponent. The fighter who used to get most of his wins by a decision has now started to knock people out, and is doing it in a spectacular fashion. Even though his stand-up is far from the best, the 2021 version of Kamaru Usman has no shame in his game and is probably the most complete fighter on the planet. The Nigerian Nightmare has won 18 fights in a row and is now 14-0 in the UFC, and it surpassed Georges St. Pierre's record for consecutive wins in the welterweight division. After Khabib stepped down, Usman took his place as the most dominant pound-for-pound fighter on the planet, and he's likely there to stay. Ice hockey. Connor McDavid. Wayne Gretzky is considered the best hockey player of all time and is nicknamed the Great One. After he retired, the hockey world has been looking for his successor, and many players have been dubbed as the next one in an attempt to glorify their attempts to at least come close to Gretzky's greatness. The current next one is Connor McDavid, the first pick of the 2015 NHL Draft. Like Gretzky, McDavid is also playing for the Edmonton Oilers, and just like Gretzky, he's dominated the league from the get-go. Connor's playing IQ is off the charts, and he always seems to be at the right place at the right time and see things on the ice that others just don't. In addition, McDavid is also the best skater in the NHL, and by a wide margin. His ability to make a fast and powerful crossover is second to none, and nobody can beat his speed in a straight line. In 2021, he reached 100 points in just 53 games, becoming only the 9th player to reach the mark in that short of a time span, and the first since Mario Lemieux and Jaromir Jagr did so in 1995-96. He won the Art Ross Trophy as the best scorer in the league for the 3rd time, and he scored or assisted on 57% of Edmonton's goals, which broke the NHL record. He's as good as I've seen in the last 30 years, Wayne Gretzky said of McDavid. And when the Great One makes such a claim, you can take that to the bank. Boxing. Canelo Alvarez. We live in the era of Saul Canelo Alvarez, who's been the most dominant fighter in the world ever since his only career loss, which happened in 2013 against Floyd Mayweather. From that moment on, everybody who was supposed to be the next guy to defeat the redhead Mexican failed to do so. Canelo's body shots are pound for pound the most brutal hits you can receive in all of boxing. There's a saying that his left hook to the body has caused more liver failure than alcohol, which is, of course, an exaggeration, but it serves as a compliment to Canelo's skill and power. His trademark move of raising his right hand as bait and then landing a powerful blow with his left is one of the slickest things you can see in boxing today. Alvarez is a pressure fighter and is always staying extremely close to his opponents. And yet, due to his impeccable footwork, quick hands, and head movement, he's almost impossible to reach. The main rule of boxing is to hit and don't get hit, and Canelo does this better than anyone else in the world at the moment. Baseball. Mike Trout. Even though he played in the postseason only once and has never won a playoff game in his 10-year career, there's little to no doubt who's the best baseball player of the last decade and who's the best right now. Mike Trout is a phenom and looks like he's made in a laboratory for batting. 6'2", 240 pounds, perfectly coordinated, and adept at hitting it out of the park with both strength and precision. He hits the ball more regularly than any other player on the planet. He hits with power and plays ferocious defense at the center field. In 2019, Trout signed the largest contract in American sports history at the time, worth $426 million over 12 years. And everybody was like, yeah, he probably deserves it. Since he came to the league, Trout has accumulated 76 wins above replacement player, far and away the highest mark in the game. He's won 3 MVPs since he got to the league in 2011. And even when he doesn't win it, he's always in the conversation. Golf. Jon Rahm. The greatest young talent in golf and the current #1 player in the world, Jon Rahm is one of golf's brightest new superstars. The Spanish golfer excelled as an amateur and was the #1 golfer in the World Amateur Golf Ranking for a record 60 weeks. He turned pro in 2016 and instantly turned a lot of heads due to his stellar play. He was so good so quickly that Phil Mickelson made a bet with Colt Knost, betting that Rahm will become a top 10 player in the world within a year. The Spanish wunderkind, who was ranked 766th at the time of the bet, climbed to #9 next year and won some money from Mickelson, and he hasn't stopped ascending ever since. Rahm's game has no tangible weaknesses. He has a powerful swing, putts and drives well, has great course management, and finally learned to tame his hot Spanish temper, which added composure to his game. Rahm reached the #1 in the world in 2020 for the first time and now recaptured the premier position after winning the 2021 US Open. This was his first major title, but it almost certainly won't be his last. Tennis. Novak Djokovic. Novak Djokovic is slowly but surely going to break most records in tennis, and he's on the path to becoming the best player ever to hold a tennis racket. While Federer's style, elegance, and the pure magic of tennis have gotten much praise over the years, Djokovic was always portrayed as that guy who simply keeps the ball inside the court longer than his opponent. His endless running, elasticity, and impregnable defense is maybe not as eye-pleasing as some of the stuff that Roger and Nadal did, but you can't argue with the results. Novak is consistently great on all surfaces. He has positive head-to-head scores with his biggest rivals, and has been the best in a period when the competition was the toughest in history. But what's probably most impressive about Djokovic is his mental strength. While other players crumble under pressure, Djokovic thrives. Djokovic eats pressure like Joey Chestnut eats hot dogs. And he's been spectacular when it was the hardest and when everything and everybody turned against him. Just like his late friend Kobe Bryant, Djokovic almost needs the crowd to hate him. If they don't, he'll find something else to be mad about. The weather, the ball boys, his shoes, anything. Because he plays better when he's pissed. Maybe he's not loved as much because of that, but there is no argument about who is the best tennis player in the world right now. And when it's all said and done, there might not be a lot of arguments about who's the best ever.